The biting wind swept through Michigan Avenue, carrying flurries of snow that blanketed the ornate storefronts and hurried the footsteps of holiday shoppers. Christmas lights twinkled from every lamppost, casting a warm glow against the frigid December evening in Chicago. Amid the bustling crowd laden with bags from Macy's and Saks Fifth Avenue, two figures stood motionless before the glowing window of Anderson's Gourmet, a high-end food emporium known for its extravagant holiday displays. The man was young, perhaps in his early 30s, his second-hand coat frayed at the shoulders and dusted with fresh snow. His hand clutched tightly to that of a small boy beside him, about 7 years old, with wide eyes fixed on the treasures inside the glass. The display was a feast for the senses, a golden roasted turkey adorned with glistening cranberry sauce, caramelized chestnuts, and sprigs of fresh rosemary, all arranged under soft spotlights that made it seem like a scene from a storybook. "Dad, can we have one like that?" The boy's voice was soft, almost a whisper filled with innocent wonder. Ethan Rowe's heart clenched. He knelt down to his son's level, forcing a smile despite the ache in his chest. "Yeah, buddy. Maybe Santa will surprise us with a big feast this year." The words hung in the air like fragile ornaments, harmless comforts in the midst of the holiday rush. But Ethan knew the truth. This Christmas, like the last few, would likely consist of canned soup and discount crackers from the corner store. His warehouse job paid just enough to cover rent and utilities in their cramped South Side apartment, leaving little for extravagances. Noah deserved better, but life hadn't dealt them that hand, not since everything changed 7 years ago. Inside the window's reflection, their faces overlapped, with the opulent spread creating a poignant contrast. Ethan straightened up, ready to pull Noah away from the tempting sight, when he felt a prickling sensation on the back of his neck, as if someone was watching. Not far away, a woman paused in her stride. She was elegantly dressed in a white fur coat and a Hermes scarf, her arms laden with shopping bags from upscale boutiques. Her steps, usually purposeful and confident, slowed to a halt as her gaze locked onto the pair at the window. Clara Bennett froze her breath, catching in her throat. The world around her, the carolers singing nearby, the scent of roasted chestnuts from a street vendor faded into a blur. It was him. Ethan. The same strong jaw, the same weary posture she remembered from their younger days. And the child, could that be his son? Her mind raced back through the years to the life she had left behind. 7 years ago, she had walked away, choosing ambition over the struggles they shared. Now as CEO of Elara Events, she orchestrated lavish parties for the elite, her world a whirlwind of boardrooms and black tie galas. But seeing Ethan here grasping his boy's hand while staring at a meal they couldn't afford stirred something deep within her, a mix of regret and unresolved longing. Her heart pounded. She took a tentative step closer, then another, until she was near enough to hear the boys' excited chatter about the turkey's shiny glaze. Ethan's shoulders tensed. He sensed her presence and turned. Their eyes met. Time stuttered. Recognition flashed across his face like a shadow. "Clara." Ethan's voice was rough, barely audible over the distant jingle of bells from a passing Salvation Army volunteer. "Ethan," she replied, her own voice a whisper, her polished composure cracking. Her face paled beneath her flawless makeup. The boy looked up, confused by the sudden tension. "Dad, who is she?" Ethan's grip on his son's hand tightened protectively. He glanced at Clara once more, a storm of emotion swirling in his eyes. Surprise, pain, perhaps a flicker of old affection. "Just an old acquaintance." The words landed like a quiet blow. Clara bit her lip, fighting the urge to explain everything right there on the sidewalk. "Ethan, we need to talk." "There's nothing left to say." His tone was firm, but his eyes betrayed a hint of uncertainty. "Please, just a few minutes." "Dad, I'm hungry," the boy interjected, tugging at Ethan's sleeve, oblivious to the undercurrents. Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. He began to turn away, guiding his son into the flow of pedestrians. Clara's hand trembled as she reached into her purse, pulling out a crisp business card. She stepped forward, extending it toward him. If you're ever ready, call me. Please." Ethan hesitated, his gaze dropping to the card emblazoned with her name and title, Clara Bennett, CEO, Elara Events. He didn't take it, but the boy reached out curiously and grasped it. "I'll hold it for you, Dad." Clara watched as they walked away, their figures swallowed by the crowd. Her hands shook, but a determined spark ignited in her eyes. This time she wouldn't let the past dictate the future. She knew she had to make things right, not just for herself, but for the man she had never truly stopped loving and the child who unknowingly connected them. The apartment on the third floor of a weathered building in Chicago's South Side was shrouded in darkness save for the faint glow from a single bulb in the cramped kitchen. It was nearing midnight, and the sounds of the city-distant sirens and the hum of traffic filtered through the thin windows. On the scarred wooden table sat a half-eaten bowl of cold pasta, a stack of unpaid bills, and a small framed photo of a beaming boy with his father's arm around him. Next to it lay the crisp business card, its gold-embossed letters catching the dim light like an unwelcome intruder. Ethan Rose slumped in a rickety chair, his calloused hands cradling a mug of instant coffee gone lukewarm. Exhaustion etched lines around his eyes deeper than his 32 years should allow. He stared at the card as if it might vanish if he blinked too hard. Clara Bennett, CEO of Alara Events. The name evoked a torrent of memories he had long tried to bury. Why had he brought it home? Perhaps because Noah had insisted, clutching it like a treasure? "Don't throw it away, Dad. It might be important." Noah. The boy was everything to Ethan now. The reason he dragged himself through 12-hour shifts at the warehouse loading crates under fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry bees. The job paid the bills barely, but left no room for dreams or holidays. Christmas was just days away, and Ethan's wallet held only enough for a few modest gifts from the dollar store. He glanced at the photo on the table, Noah at age 5, gap-toothed and joyful, taken during one of their rare park outings. That smile kept him going even on nights like this. His mind wandered back unbidden to 7 years ago. He and Clara had been inseparable, young and full of plans, in a tiny studio apartment not far from here. She was ambitious, studying event planning while he worked odd jobs to support them. They talked of marriage, a family. Then one morning she was gone. No argument, no warning, just a terse note on the kitchen counter. "I need a different life. I'm sorry." Ethan had searched for weeks, calling friends, scouring social media, but she had vanished. Months later, he learned through a mutual acquaintance that she had moved uptown climbing the corporate ladder. The betrayal stung, but life didn't pause. Soon after, he discovered he was going to be a father alone. Noah's mother. A brief fling in his grief had left the infant at his door with a note of her own. "I can't do this." Ethan had stepped up, no questions asked, becoming both parents in one weary body. Now Clara was back, or at least her card was a symbol of the life she had chosen over him. Success glamour, the kind of world where roasted turkeys weren't fantasies. Ethan felt a surge of resentment. Was this pity? Did she see him as a charity case standing there with his son like beggars at a window? He crumpled the card in his fist, ready to toss it, but hesitated. What if there was more to her story? What if Noah deserved to know? A soft cough echoed from the bedroom, pulling him from his thoughts. Ethan rose, padding quietly to the door. Noah stirred under his thin blanket, his small face peaceful in sleep. Ethan adjusted the covers sitting on the bed's edge for a moment. The boy had his mother's curiosity. Ethan's ex, not Clara, but Ethan's quiet strength. "If Dad met an old friend again, what would you think?" Ethan had asked earlier that evening, testing the waters while Noah colored holiday pictures. Noah had paused, crayon in hand. "Good old friend or bad? Hard to say. They hurt Dad once." The boy thought, then said with childlike wisdom, "Maybe they're hurt too. Like when I fell at school and said sorry to Timmy even though he pushed me first." The simplicity pierced Ethan. Kids saw the world so clearly. He brushed Noah's hair back, whispering, "Sleep tight, buddy." Back in the kitchen, the card lay uncrumpled on the table. Ethan's fingers hovered over his phone. The clock ticked past midnight. With a deep breath, he dialed the number. His heart raced as it rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hello," Clara's voice surprised but steady. "It's me, Ethan." A pause, then a soft exhale. "I didn't think you'd call." "Neither did I." For 3 days had passed since the unexpected encounter on Michigan Avenue, but the weight of it lingered like the persistent Chicago snow that blanketed the sidewalks. Ethan Rose's routine trudged on unchanged, rising before dawn to bundle Noah into his coat, and walk him to the elementary school 8 blocks away, then enduring another grueling shift at the warehouse. The cold seeped into his bones as he hauled crates, his mind replaying the phone call from that first night. Clara's voice, so familiar yet distant, echoed in his thoughts amid the clatter of forklifts and the shouts of coworkers. By evening, the apartment felt even smaller, the walls closing in with the scent of reheated leftovers and the faint hum of the radiator. Noah sat at the table, his small hands gripping crayons as he sketched a lopsided Christmas tree on scrap paper. "Look, Dad, I added lights like the ones downtown." Ethan managed a tired smile, ruffling the boy's hair. "It's perfect, buddy. Santa's gonna love it." But his eyes kept drifting to the phone on the counter. The call had been brief, laced with hesitation on both sides. "We can meet," he had said, his voice steadier than he felt. "But not for old time's sake. Just to hear what you have to say." Clara had agreed quickly, suggesting a neutral spot, a cozy diner near Oak Street, away from the holiday crowds. Ethan had insisted on bringing Noah. The boy was his shield, a reminder that his life now revolved around more than unresolved pain. Now, as the clock ticked toward the appointed time the next afternoon, Ethan paced the living room. His shift had ended early, giving him just enough time to change into his least worn jeans and a clean sweater. Noah bounced on the couch, oblivious to the undercurrents. "Are we meeting your friend today, Dad? The one from the store?" Ethan knelt down, tying Noah's shoelaces. "Yeah, something like that. She's someone I knew a long time ago." He paused, searching for words. "If things feel weird, we can leave anytime, okay?" Noah nodded solemnly. "Okay, but she seemed nice. She looked at us like she missed something." The boy's insight caught Ethan off guard, a pang twisting in his chest. He pulled Noah into a quick hug, then grabbed their coats. The walk to the bus stop was silent, the winter air biting at their faces. On the ride downtown, Ethan's mind raced. What did Clara want? An apology closure? Or was this some twisted form of charity from her polished world? The diner Little Finch welcomed them with the aroma of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls. Clara was already there, seated in a corner booth, her fur coat draped over the seat. She looked different, less armored, her hair pulled back, simply no flashy jewelry. When she saw them enter, her expression softened, a tentative smile breaking through. "Ethan, thank you for coming." Her voice was steady, but her hands fidgeted with a napkin. He nodded curtly, sliding into the booth with Noah beside him. The boy eyed the menu eagerly. "Can I have hot chocolate?" Clara's eyes lit up. "Of course, with extra marshmallows." Noah grinned, the ice breaking just a fraction. As a waitress took their orders, coffee for the adults, cocoa for the child, Ethan leaned forward. "You said you wanted to talk about the truth. So what is it? Why now, after all this time?" Clara took a deep breath, her gaze flickering to Noah before returning to Ethan. "It's not just about us. It's about why I left and what I've carried since. But first, tell me about him. About Noah." Ethan glanced at his son, who was now doodling on a placemat. "He's everything. His mom, she wasn't ready. Left him with me when he was a baby. I've raised him alone. No regrets." Clara's eyes misted. "He's beautiful. He has your kindness." The conversation hung there fragile as the drinks arrived. Ethan felt the tension coiling tighter, knowing the real revelations were yet to come. But for now, in this quiet booth, amid the holiday bustle outside, a fragile bridge was forming one step at a time. The diner buzzed with the low hum of conversations and the clink of silverware, but in their corner booth, an uneasy silence settled as the waitress departed. Ethan stirred his coffee, avoiding Clara's gaze, while Noah happily slurped his hot chocolate, oblivious to the storm brewing between the adults. The boy's presence was a buffer, a reminder that this meeting wasn't just about dredging up the past, it was about protecting the present. Clara cleared her throat, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "Ethan, I didn't ask you here to make excuses, but you deserve the truth. All of it." She reached into her purse, pulling out a worn envelope. Her hands trembled slightly as she slid it across the table. "This is why I left." Ethan eyed the envelope warily, then opened it. Inside were medical documents, yellowed at the edges, Scans reports a diagnosis dated 7 years back. Thyroid cancer, early stage, he read aloud, his voice dropping to a whisper. The words blurred as he scanned further treatments. Surgery's a grueling recovery outlined in clinical detail. He looked up, confusion and anger warring on his face. You were sick, and you didn't tell me. Clara nodded, her eyes welling. I found out right before. Everything. I was terrified, not just of dying, but of burdening you. We were barely scraping by your jobs, my studies. I couldn't imagine adding hospital bills, chemo, all of it. So I left. I went to my aunt in New York, got treatment there. By the time I was in remission, I convinced myself you'd moved on, that coming back would only reopen wounds. Ethan's knuckles whitened around the papers. You thought I'd abandon you, that I wouldn't fight through it with you. His voice cracked, years of pent-up hurt spilling out. I searched for you, Clara, for months, and all this time. You were fighting alone. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I was wrong, so wrong. I was young, scared. I thought I was protecting you, but I see now. I just hurt us both. She glanced at Noah, who was quietly watching his crayon paused mid-stroke on the placemat. And him, is he? No, Ethan said softly, his anger softening at the edges. His mom was someone I met after you left. She wasn't ready for a family, dropped him off and never looked back. I've been on my own since. He ran a hand through his hair, the weight of the revelation sinking in. The resentment he'd nursed for years felt heavier now, laced with sorrow. You could have trusted me. Clara reached across the table, her hand hovering near his but not touching. I know, and I've regretted it every day. Seeing you two at that window, it broke something in me. I built this life success money, but it's empty. I want to make amends if you'll let me. Amends if not with pity, but with honesty. Noah, sensing the shift, looked up with wide eyes. Dad, is she crying? Ethan turned to his son, then back to Clara, whose shoulders shook silently. The boy's simple question pierced the tension, grounding them. Noah tore off a corner of his placemat, a crude drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands under a Christmas tree, and slid it toward her. Here, for you. Don't be sad. Clara took the paper, her tears falling freely now. She studied the drawing, a family sketched in crayon innocence. Thank you, Noah. It's beautiful. She met Ethan's eyes, her voice barely above a whisper. He's got your heart. Ethan felt a crack in his resolve. The anger didn't vanish, but it ebbed, making room for something tentative, forgiveness perhaps, or at least understanding. This doesn't fix everything, he said, his own eyes glistening. But it's a start. Done. The 3 sat there as the diner filled with holiday cheer around them, the first threads of reconciliation weaving through the pain. Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the city in quiet possibility. A week later, Christmas Eve arrived with a fresh blanket of snow transforming Chicago's South Side into a quiet winter wonderland. Ethan Rowe's apartment, usually dim and sparse, glowed with unexpected warmth. He had spent the day stringing cheap lights around the living room and setting up a modest tree scavenged from a discount lot. Noah bounced with excitement, his eyes wide at the wrapped packages, simple toys Ethan had scraped together from his last paycheck. But tonight felt different, charged with a tentative hope that hadn't visited in years. A knock at the door startled them. Ethan opened it to find Clara standing there, her arms laden with bags, a roasted turkey from Anderson's gourmet sides of mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce, even a pie still warm from the oven. Behind her, more packages peeked out. I didn't want to assume, she said softly, her breath visible in the cold air. But if you'll let me, I'd like to share this with you both. Ethan hesitated, glancing at Noah, who peered curiously from behind his leg. The boy's face lit up at the sight of the food. Dad, it's like the window, Clara smiled faintly. May I come in? He stepped aside and she entered, setting the bags on the kitchen counter. The aroma of herbs and spices filled the small space, chasing away the usual chill. Noah dove into helping unpack, chattering about his school holiday play, while Clara listened, her eyes softening with each word. Ethan watched from the doorway, a mix of wariness and relief stirring inside him. She wasn't pushing, She moved carefully, respecting the boundaries he had silently drawn. They ate together at the rickety table, the turkey carving easily under Ethan's knife. Noah declared it the best ever, his laughter echoing as he recounted his wish list to Santa. Clara shared stories of her own childhood Christmases, simple ones, before her rise to success, drawing parallels that made Ethan nod in quiet recognition. As the meal wound down, Noah tore into the gifts. Clara had brought a new winter coat, for him books, and a model train set that lit his face with joy. "Thank you," Ethan said later, as Noah played in the corner with his new treasures. "This means a lot to him." "And to me," Clara replied, her voice low. They sat on the couch, the tree's lights casting flickering shadows. "Ethan, I've spent years building walls, success but no one to share it with. Seeing you two, it reminded me what I lost, what I threw away." He looked at her, the old pain surfacing, but muted now. "It wasn't just you. I could have fought harder to find you, but we can't change that." "No," she agreed. "But maybe we can build something new. Not the past, but a future, if you're willing." Ethan reached for her hand, his touch tentative. "It's not a fairy tale. There'll be hard days. Trust to rebuild." "I know, and I'm ready for that." Her eyes met his, steady and sincere. Noah scampered over, climbing between them with a yawn. "Can she stay for story time, Dad?" Ethan smiled, pulling the boy close. "Yeah, she can." As Clara read from one of the new books, her voice soft and steady, Ethan felt a quiet peace settle. Love didn't always return in grand gestures. Sometimes it crept back through open doors and shared meals. Families weren't born perfect. They were chosen, mended with time and forgiveness. Outside, snow fell, gently veiling the city in white, as if granting them a fresh start. When the story ended and Noah drifted to sleep, Clara rose to leave. At the door, she paused. "Ethan, if one day you're ready for more, for us to try again, even slowly, would you?" He opened the door wider, the cold air rushing in, but not chilling the warmth inside. "We can't rewind time. But if you're here for the real thing, not the easy parts, then yes, let's lay the foundation one brick at a time." Clara's smile was genuine, unadorned. For the first time in 7 years, she stepped fully inside, not as someone who had left, but as someone choosing to stay.